Top 15 attractions in Florence that are quite amazing. Number 15. Florence Santa Croce Basilica. Basilica di Santa Croce. One of the most striking and important churches in Florence, Santa Croce Basilica, Basilica di Santa Croce, is a classic example of Tuscan Gothic architecture. It's also home to myriad works by Giotto, Gaddi, della Robbia, and Donatello, plus the tombs of numerous luminaries including Michelangelo, Galileo, Ghiberti, and Machiavelli. Number 14. Medici Chapels. The Medici Chapels, tucked into the 15th century Basilica di San Lorenzo in Florence's historic center, are home to two of Michelangelo's famous sculptural masterpieces. Built as mausoleums for members of the Medici family, the Medici Chapels include new sacristy and the larger chapel of the princes. Number 13. Piazza della Repubblica. Piazza della Repubblica is one of the most important and elegant squares in the heart of Florence, lined with porticoed 19th-century palazzi, Grand Dame hotels, high-end boutiques, bustling restaurants, and historic cafes. A stroll through this beautiful public space is a must during any Florence sightseeing tour. Number 12. Brunelleschi's Dome, Cupola del Brunelleschi. Towering above Florence, Filippo Brunelleschi's Dome, Cupola del Brunelleschi, is an important engineering and architectural feat. Completed in 1436, the fact that this symbol of the city still stands tall over the Duomo more than 600 years later is testament to Brunelleschi's mastery. Climb to the top for some of the best views over Florence. Number 11. Boboli Gardens, Giardino di Boboli. Pass through the arched entrance of Florence's stately Pitti Palace and into the serenity of the sweeping Boboli Gardens, Giardino di Boboli, once the private playground of this Renaissance capital's ruling Medici family. Dating from the 16th century, the Giardino di Boboli is among the earliest examples of formal Italian gardens, commissioned for the wife of Cosimo I de' Medici in 1540. Number 10. Giotto's Bell Tower, Campanile di Giotto. After Brunelleschi's soaring dome, Giotto's elegant bell tower, Campanile di Giotto, is perhaps the most recognized landmark emerging above the rooftops of Florence. Admire the intricate polychrome marble covering the entire 270-foot (82-meter) height, and climb the more than 400 steps to the top for one of the best views over Florence. Number 9. Florence Baptistery, Battistero de San Giovanni. Situated just west of the Duomo Cathedral, the Florence Baptistery of St. John, Battistero de San Giovanni, is one of the oldest structures in Florence. Its iconic octagonal structure dates back to ancient Rome, while its 16th-century bronze doors, sculpted by Lorenzo Ghiberti, were dubbed the Gates of Paradise by Michelangelo himself. Number 8. Piazza della Signoria. Home to the imposing Palazzo Vecchio, Piazza della Signoria is the most important public square in Florence. The political heart of the city for centuries, today the square is also a vibrant social hub, where locals and tourists gather at the Loggia dei Lanzi and Neptune Fountain to soak up the elegant atmosphere. Number 7. Piazzale Michelangelo. The most famous scenic overlook in Florence, Piazzale Michelangelo is beloved for its breathtaking views over the city's rooftops. From this 19th-century square set on a hillside in the Oltrarno neighborhood, panoramic views stretch over the Rose Garden, Ponte Vecchio spanning the River Arno, the tower of the Palazzo Vecchio, Florence's iconic Duomo and Bell Tower, and the Tuscan hills beyond. Number 6. Pitti Palace, Palazzo Pitti. Pitti Palace, Palazzo Pitti, was built by Luca Pitti in the 1400s. A century later, Duchess of Florence Eleonora di Toledo purchased the Renaissance palazzo for her husband, Cosimo I de' Medici, and it remained the official residence of the Grand Duchy of Tuscany until the early 20th century. Today, Pitti Palace is Florence's largest museum complex. Number 5. Palazzo Vecchio. The 13th-century Palazzo Vecchio has been the symbol of this Renaissance capital's political power for more than 7 centuries. With its imposing crenellated roofline and defensive tower, it dominates Piazza della Signoria and is home to the luxurious chambers of the Medici family. Visiting Palazzo Vecchio for a peek into Renaissance Florence is a rite of passage for visitors. Number 4. Ponte Vecchio. The historic Ponte Vecchio, or Old Bridge, is perhaps the most recognized symbol of Florence after Brunelleschi's soaring red dome topping the Duomo. The three lower arches of this 14th-century bridge span the Arno River at its narrowest point between the Palazzo Vecchio and the Pitti Palace, and a stretch of the famous Vasari corridor runs along its top. Number 3. Florence Duomo, Cattedrale di Santa Maria dei Fiori. No matter where you walk in Florence, chances are you'll spot its famous Duomo, a defining element of the city's history, geography, and identity, towering above. Beneath its red-tiled dome lies Florence's largest church, officially known as the Cattedrale di Santa Maria dei Fiori. Together with the Museum of the Duomo, an opera museum, the Baptistery of San Giovanni, and Giotto's bell tower, the Duomo complex has become the city's most famous landmark. Number 2. Uffizi Galleries, Gallery degli Uffizi. The Uffizi Galleries, Gallery degli Uffizi, houses one of the world's most significant collections of art, drawing in more than 1 million annual visitors who wish to cast eyes upon its many masterpieces. Set in the heart of Florence, the museum contains the works of artists such as Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Caravaggio, Botticelli, and Giotto, among others. It is the premier place to view Italian Renaissance art and is the most visited museum in Italy. And finally, number 1. Accademia Gallery, Galleria dell'Accademia. Once one of Europe's oldest drawing schools, Florence's Accademia Gallery, Galleria dell'Accademia, is now one of the city's most visited museums, home to Michelangelo's 17-foot-tall, 5.2-meter-tall David. Other treasures on display include Renaissance paintings by artists such as Botticelli and Lippi, unfinished Michelangelo sculptures, and a collection of rare musical instruments.